Hello everyone, welcome to Learn with Techies. In this video, we will be talking about how to input and output in Java, what are variable and constants, what are different type of data types in Java, and we will end all of this with some programming exercises. So now let's start with simple print statement, like how we can print anything in Java. If you want to print anything in Java, you will have to use this function system.out.print, and then whatever you want to print, you can put inside this bracket within this quotes. So whatever you put in here, like this hello Java, it will be printed on the console or basically on the terminal in Java. And of course, one more thing that we have to remember, that always end a statement with a semicolon. Basically, semicolon signifies that you have ended this statement. They are read and used by compiler to distinguish between separate statement. Here, java.lang.system is a class in Java package, and out and print are static and public method of same classes. We will cover this in more details later. For now, just remember, if you want to print anything on console, you will use system.out.print method. Now, let's practice this out. So, if you have seen my last videos, then you will remember that this whole setup comes pre-created with Visual Studio Code, this app.java file and all of the setup. If you have not seen that, please go ahead and see my last video where I covered installing Java in full details. So here you may be seeing some new keywords like static, main, string args, these keywords that you may not be understanding. We will cover these in later videos. For now, just remember, whatever you want to code, you will be printing within this block, like within this main function. Whatever you print here, like right here basically, that will be executed. So now let's practice what we have learned. So here, if like you can see, it's already providing you these options like what you can print. If you use system.out.print, and this is the function, and I'll print whatever I want to print. I'll print hello learn with techies, and I will end this line with a semicolon. And now it's running, and you see it's saying hello learn with techies. This is printed. So now let's print one more line. I'll just copy paste the same thing. Hello subscriber. Let's save. Oh, sorry, the spelling is wrong. Hello subscribers. I'll save it, and then I'll just run it again. See, hello learn with techies and hello subscriber. So if you see here, since we have used system.out.print, both of these lines are printed in the same statement. One thing that we have to note, like I am writing it in two different lines, but even if you write the same statement in the same line, just separate it with a semicolon, so the output will be same, because for compiler the line ends where you put the semicolon. So I'll just run it. You see, it's still same. Hello learn with techies, hello subscribers. So now there's one more variation of this method, system.out.println. So let me write that, system.out.println. Let me just comment out this line. We can comment it by using this. Commenting basically means now compiler will not run this line. It will be there for you to understand everything, but compiler will not understand it or see it basically. So I'll just comment it out. Then I run this using this new function system.out.println. So you see, these all are written in two different lines. So what this method does is it also prints the same statement inside whatever you have written in the inside this code. It will print the same statement, but it will move the cursor to the next line. So now the next print statement, whatever you have written, it will be in the next line. In the same way, even if you have written something like this, it will still print it in two different lines. Because as soon as you write this function, this writes whatever is inside this bracket and then move the cursor to the next line. Now, if you want more control over the formatting, try using system.out.format. We will cover those here, but before that, let's talk about one more very important concept, variables and constants. What is constant? It means something that not changes. Like this number 23. 23 is a constant. 45 is also a constant. It can't change. Basically 45 can never be equal to 23 and 23 can't be equal to 45. These are two different constant value. So these are also called literals. A variable is a container which can hold a constant value. So suppose this is a whole memory location, then these blue boxes are variables. They will be holding some constant value like 23, 42, anything. All of the constant value will be stored in these variables. So when you write something like a equals to 20, what that means is like there is a constant value 20 which is stored in a memory location and that memory location is named a. So later if you say, if you reference or if you in the code you write a, processor will directly go into this memory location and get this constant value. So here, whenever you write a, that will means you are talking about this constant value 20. Creating a variable, we need to take care of two things. One is the data type, that is type of data that we are storing in this variable. And second is the data name, that is what is the name that we give to a variable. Going back to the same example, here int a equals to 20 means int is the data type. It tells us what kind of data we are storing in that variable. A is the variable name and 20 is the constant. Now the constant could be anything. It could be a character, it could be a digit, it could be anything, right? So we also need variables that could be of different types that can store this constant. That is why we need different data types in Java, basically to store different type of constant value. So in Java, data types could be of two types, primitive and reference. In primitive, there are 4 subdata. These are the one that we will be covering here in this videos. These 4 primitive types are integer, real, boolean and character. Now, integer data type can be subdivided into 4 subtypes: byte, short, int and long. These 4 are differentiated by the range of values they provide as well as the bits they occupy in memory. Why all of these ranges are different or how we calculate the bit sizes, these topics I will not cover here, but I will add some details in the description if you want to learn more about it. You can see in here that the byte has the range from -128 to +127. Short has a range from -32,768 to +32,767. In the same way, int and long also have different ranges. By ranges, what we mean is like the byte value could only reside between these numbers. Same way in the short could only reside between whatever its range is. So let's cover this in more details while going through the editor with some live examples. Let's start by writing an example. Let us create a variable int a equals to 20. We are creating a variable a with the data type of int and we are giving it a constant value 20. So if I print it here, I'm using the same function system.out.println and print a here. If you run it, see we are getting the value 20. Now if you try to write something like this, byte b equals to 124 and then let's print this byte here. Let's clear the terminal up. So you see it's printing 124. Now if I put byte something like 145, it will start giving an error. Why? Because you can see this value that we are providing, the constant that we are providing, it's not within the byte range. So that's why it's saying that it's a type mismatch. It is not a byte, it's an int number, but you are assigning it to byte. So that's where all of these ranges differ. So whenever you declare a variable, always keep in mind the data type should be as per the range you want. Now, if you want an integer which is so big that you want it to be a long data type, if you remember, the long data type is way bigger than int. So if I want to store something as long, so I'll go ahead, create a long a. I can't use the same variable. I have to create a new variable. long a equals to 1. Let's put something like this, right? So whenever you declare a long variable, you have to add a L at the end to tell compiler that it's a long value. You can print it here, run it, you will get this value. Now you can, for long values, you can also use an underscore in between. You can go ahead and you can put it something like this, run it. Let me clear this up. It still print the same thing. Here we have to remember that you can't put this underscore just before L, like you can't put it like this, it will start giving an error. Neither you can put it like as in the starting point. You can only put it in between in case the number is so large that you want to put some differentiator for you to understand it. Now let's move on to other data type. These basics that I am talking about as of now, or what I am covering in this video, may seem like very low level, but it's very important to get these fundamental rights, because during placement also you get some MCQ rounds where they ask these kind of fundamental questions, or later in their actual coding also these kind of fundamentals helps you when you write some code. Now real type could be a float or double. The difference is in the range that they provide or they cover, or the byte occupied by each. So let's go back to the editor. I can quickly show you how these both look. Now let's talk about why we need them. So suppose you want to write a decimal value and you write it like this. It will start giving an error because int can't store decimal values. So for storing these kind of decimal values only, we need a double and float, basically the real data types. So I'll go ahead, I'll convert it to a double. I'll just print it also just for you to check this out. If you want to use float value specifically, then you have to add a small f at the end. So like if I want to write a float value, float f equals to 1.23, it will give me an error if you see that because it's treating it as a double. So if you want it to be a float, you have to add a small f at the end, and let's print it. Sorry, let me, if you see, this is one. We can also use exponential notation here. Like here, I can create something like double b equals to 5e3. This basically means 5 into 10 to power 3. So if I print it here, run it, let me clear this up. Sorry, it's saying the quotes are missing. Run it, we will run it again. See, 5000. Now we have learned about what is double, what is float. The obvious question is, if double is solving the exact scenario, then why do we have float? So most of the time when you write like coding programs and everything, it's okay if you use double because you may get some high precision if you need it. But in real world coding, we have to take care what kind of data we are using, because float takes way less memory space than double. And in some case, the processor also provides faster processing of float data type. So anytime when you do not actually need double value, it's recommended to use float. The third data type is Boolean. Boolean data type can either be a true or false, or could be an expression that evaluates to true or a false. Let me type here Boolean a equals to true. It's written wrong. So I'll just save it and print it. I am getting this value true here. I can also put something like 1 equals to 2. I have to put a bracket just for keeping it clear. I'll clear it and then I'll run it. Saying false because 1 is not equal to 2. In the same way, if I'm writing 1 equals to 1 and I run it, I'll get it true because 1 is equal to 1. So this is what Boolean is. Now let's talk about character data type. It represents a character in Unicode format. In later videos, we will learn that combining these characters make a string, that is another data structure. So let's go quickly into the editor. I can show you how this looks. So let us type a character in the editor. I'll create something like char a equals to c. So here, see, this A is a character. So if you see, all of the characters are identified by single quotes. You can go ahead and print it. Sorry, A. If you print it, we'll get the same thing. C. Now if you write something like this, if you put 2 characters in this, it will say invalid character constant, because characters are generally one single character could be stored in one single quote. Now here you see, you can also put something like this also. Like if you remember, we used double quotes in the earlier sessions when we were printing something, but we can also use a single quote here for the system.out.println method. The only constraint here is like you can only print one character in here. So if I run it again, it's giving me this C that I have stored. One more thing here we have to remember, that you can't create something like char equals to C. That means the data types could not be stored as a variable, because it is a char is a data type, and if you are assigning it like this, that means you are providing a new value to this char keyword, which is not allowed in Java. So these kind of words are called reserved words, which can't be used as a variable name, because these all have a special function in Java. So if you remember earlier in the videos, I was talking about primitive and reference data type. So variables in Java are basically defined into 2 types, primitive and reference data type. From the programming perspective, a primitive variable information is stored as the value of that variable, whereas a reference variable hold a reference to the information related to that variable. So assuming that this is your memory, this is the primitive data type, this first one, because you can see the constant value is stored in the memory location in this space only. But this third one, this is the reference data type. How we know it? Because the value is not stored in this blue box. Rather, this blue box only contains a pointer that is pointing to the location where that value is stored. So this value is stored in a heap. What is heap? We will cover in later videos. For now, just remember, the reference variable does not actually hold the value inside that memory location. It just points to another location where that value is actually stored. So now we are done with all of the theoretical part. Let's have some fun. Let's do some coding exercise to understand how much we have learned. Let me just clear this up. Let's write a small program to add 2 numbers. So I'll create something like int a equals to 10, 12, int b equals to 10. And then let's just print it. For printing it, either you can create a new variable and write something like a plus b, and then you can print that value C. So if you see here, I created the int variable, I created another int variable, and then I'm just creating a new variable where I'm doing the joining. This plus is used for adding both of them, and then just I'm printing that number. If I run it, I'll get a value 22. Instead of creating a new variable, you can also do something like this here. This will also work. So if I clear this up and run it, the value is still 22. Do other arithmetic operation, like I can do a subtraction and then print it. We'll run it, the value will be 2. We can also do a divide here and print it. This will be you can also use a mod here. What does mod gives? It basically gives you the remainder. So here the remainder will be 2. So if we run it, this is what now let us do something more advanced. Let's calculate an average of 3 numbers. So we know the average of 3 numbers is just a, like suppose these are the 3 numbers that we created. The average will be, I'll create a new average will be a plus b plus c divided by 3. This is the formula of average. So the same thing we will do here. We will create a new variable known as average. We will do a sum of all of this. For now, let's create it like this: a plus b plus c, and then divide by 3, and then let's do a average. Let us run it. So what do you think? What will be the answer? See, 7 is the answer. If you remember earlier in the video, I was talking about two ways you can format your system.out statements, basically your console statements. So let's quickly cover those also here. So these are the two functions with the help of which you can format your lines or your statements. So basically the way these are written is like you will have the format as a first parameter, and you can give numerous arguments here, like numerous parameters. So here, if you see, this is the function that we are using, this is the format, and these are the arguments that I'm providing. If you see, we have provided 3 arguments. We can put as many arguments that we want. So what this does, let us quickly run it and we will show it. Let me clear this up. So it's saying sum of these numbers that we have printed, and then instead of these percentage d, we are printing 42 and 23. So you see, we have also added one more variable, but that's not printed here because we don't have the third percentage d. Let me go ahead and add it, and let me rerun it. It's saying sum of these numbers 42, which is the first percentage d, this second one 23, second one are 65, the third percentage d. So this is very easy for you to write. Like if you have to write the same statement in print using that system.out.println, you will be writing something like sum of number is, then you have to do a plus 42, assuming 42 is a variable. Let's take it like that, t equals to 42, and you have to put that here. It will be easier, you will just put it as like a and it will work, but here you have to write okay plus a and then plus r, and plus, suppose there is another variable that you want, plus b. I am substituting this 23 also with this variable name, and then this one with a plus b. So you see, it's let me run both of this. Sum of these number 43 and 23 are 65, and the second one is sum of these number is 42 and are 23. So you see, this is not that easy to write using this println. If the numbers are more big or you have more statement, then it will be more difficult because you have to go ahead, add a plus, then again add a plus and all of that. So this provides an easy way to do it. Again, the same different function, the format one, but the parameters or the way it works is same for both printf and format. So here we have added this as the format, and we have provided this as the argument. So what this will print, let me just comment this out so that you all do not get confused. You see, this is how it's doing. So if you will see, there will be 2 gaps here. So what this says, that between this pipe there will be 5 numbers, basically 5 gaps basically, and in 3 of the gaps we already have the number because of this percentage d, so it goes, and then 2 of the remaining gaps are filled with spaces. So we covered a lot of ground today. Give a pat to yourself for covering so much. And then just before going, I want to share a practice exam exercise with you so that you can go ahead and work on this, and in the next video I will cover this, like how we do it. So it's a simple exercise. You are given a length of rectangle, you are given a breadth of rectangle, you have to calculate the perimeter of rectangle and print it. The formula is 2 into length plus breadth. So please do this exercise, and do comment in the videos how are you solving that, or your small code, like how you did it. In the next video I will cover the solution for this exercise. So till then, have a nice day. I'll see you all into the next videos. Please like and subscribe, and do comment if you want me to cover some more topics in here. Thank you.